When I was 12 years old, I taught myself to code computer language. Developed my first video game and sold it for $500. I had just enough money to live until I became a millionaire overnight. And then risked almost everything to pursue my life's purpose: improve the future of humanity. As one of the richest people in the world with a net worth of over $20 billion. I am also referred to as the living Tony Stark. I was born on June 28, 1971 in Pretoria, South Africa. We were home with 4 of us. My father, who was an engineer, my mother, a model and dietitian, and my younger brother, Kimball. I felt different from other kids, and my parents noticed that too. I was a daydreamer. Cut me off from what was going on around me and heard nothing when someone spoke to me. Instead of playing outside with friends, I'd rather sat in the library to read science fiction books. The Transgalactic Hitchhiker's Handbook was my favorite, but I also loved comic books and video games. You could call me a mix of an introvert and a nerd. Boys at school thought I was weird, and I was regularly bullied and beaten up. It was so bad that one day I was thrown bleeding down a flight of stairs and was taken to hospital unconscious. And if that wasn't enough, my parents decided to get a divorce. My brother and I moved in with my father, and my mother moved to Canada. When I was 12, I got a second-hand computer and I absolutely loved it. I wanted to have a faster computer but had no money, so taught myself to program. That's how I managed to develop my own game, Blaster, that I sold to a computer magazine for $500. It wasn't that much money though, but to develop their own game as a 12-year-old boy when computers were still a new thing, I thought it was quite special. Before I turned 18, I decided to live with my mother in Canada. But that didn't work out well. I did all kinds of jobs to survive and slept in a hostel. I was lost and realized that I would never be able to fulfill my dreams this way. I enrolled in the University of Pennsylvania and graduated with a doctorate in econometrics and physics. At university, I found my passion for everything related to the internet, for sustainable energy and exploring space. I wanted a master's in physics and got into Stanford, but then I became fascinated with something bigger: the internet bubble. I felt this was it, to realize my ambitions as an entrepreneur. I left Stanford after just 2 days. With nothing in my pocket. No money, no house, no job. All I had was a huge drive. I asked my father for a loan because I wanted to start our own company with my brother. Zip2. It was an online city guide that provided content for daily newspapers. As for any startup, the beginning was very difficult. The office we rented was also where we lived. My brother and I took turns sleeping on the couch or on the floor. After some difficult years, we slowly started making money and make a profit. In 1999, Compaq Computers took over our company Zip2 for $300 million in cash and shares. Suddenly, we were a match in Silicon Valley. Other tech companies talked about us. With enough money in the bank, I started my next project and invested more than half of my wealth in the start from XCOM, a company you will know better as PayPal. PayPal is a service that allows you to transfer money online. Something that was hardly imaginable in 1999. Banks and investors did not believe in it because they didn't think it was safe, and could not believe that consumers would trust transferring money over the internet. With a close-knit and ambitious team of computer programmers, we built PayPal into a billion-dollar company. They did call us the PayPal Mafia. And some of us went on to start companies of our own, and became CEO in companies like LinkedIn, YouTube, Yelp and Reddit. 6 of us became tech billionaires. In 2002, PayPal became purchased by eBay for $1.5 billion. My share earned me $165 million. But instead of stopping work, I couldn't wait to start something new. There would never be enough money to realize my dream for a better world. As a child, I always looked at the stars and dreamed about it, to be able to live on other planets one day. I traveled to Moscow to buy and reuse old rockets. But the technicians laughed at me and demanded a ridiculous amount of money. I came back empty-handed, but learned that there was a smarter and cheaper way to build rockets. I invested $100 million of my own money and did something no one thought possible. I built my own rocket, with the aim of enabling life on other planets. I called it SpaceX. At the same time, I invested $70 million and co-founded a small company that produced electric cars. Friends thought I was crazy and said I would lose all my money, but I didn't care. I had always taken risks and never gave up when I believed in something. 6 years later, after rocket exploded right after launch, I was broke. And I had to borrow money from my friends in order to pay the rent. All my millions had evaporated. We had money for 3 launches, but as none had succeeded, I lost everything. My electric car business was also not doing well, and we just couldn't create a model that worked. Thanks to a last-minute investment, we succeeded to raise enough money for one last chance to make the space project succeed. If we didn't succeed now, we would be bankrupt and SpaceX would cease to exist. When the 4th rocket took off, time stood still. We stared tensely at the Earth's horizon, and no one spoke. But when our rocket reached the atmosphere, there was a huge roar. We became the first private company to launch a rocket into the atmosphere. And not only that, our rockets were built to be reused. We fixed it. Not long after that, we were approached by NASA for a $1.6 billion contract to send goods into space. My ambitions to make life possible in space seemed to be getting closer. With our plan for a manned space flight to Mars in 2024, I became CEO of the company I had invested in. And within 10 years, Tesla Motors was the most influential and innovative company in the world that provides fast, produces safe and self-driving electric cars. You heard right. I created a company that sent rockets into space and revolutionized the automotive industry with a new concept of cars that everyone had said would never work. I keep rowing against the current, even though people say I'm crazy, and waste my money on things like solar panels for renewable energy and new transport systems to reduce congestion such as Hyperloop. I do believe that I can make a difference in improving the way we live. Money, celebrity, or power have never been my motivation. It was always for the greater good. Of course, there were times when nothing worked out and everyone had written me off. But I've always believed in myself, my ambitions, my goals, and my dreams. I wanted a better world. A world without worries about climate change. And one where we push boundaries to get people into space. I wanted to help others made millions, lost everything, and now I have billions. I was beaten up by other kids, was laughed at by rocket builders, and rejected because my ideas wouldn't work. Despite everything, I always stood my ground, always stared at the stars. Because I knew I could make a difference. I never gave up, didn't listen to people who tried to put me down. And will always strive of human progress and the world. My name is Elon Musk, the founder of Tesla Motors and SpaceX.